Welcome to today's CrossPoint devotion. I hope you're having a great week, and I hope today's devotion is going to encourage you in your walk with Jesus. Today I want to talk to you about perfume. Do you have a favorite perfume that you like to wear? Okay, I know that question is really for the ladies. If you're a man, you don't wear perfume, or at least I hope you don't. You're wearing cologne, so do you have a favorite cologne? Now, I've got to be honest, I've never been a person who's been too caught up in perfumes that my wife has worn, and I've not really ever worn cologne. I've just always assumed that if you've had soap and shampoo on your body that day, you're in good shape. And so that's kind of been my fragrance, if you will. As I've been reading through my one-year Bible, and that's what I want to encourage you to do. If you don't have a one-year Bible, maybe you can get one soon. My one-year Bible is divided into an Old Testament passage, a New Testament passage, a little bit from the Psalms, and a little bit from the Proverbs. It gives me a wide variety to read from every day, and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to read my daily passage. I would encourage you to get one of those if you don't have a daily Bible reading plan. But in one of the passages I was reading recently from the book of Exodus, God has given these elaborate instructions about how God's people are to build Him a tabernacle as they are in the wilderness. The reason is He wants to dwell with them. But then He goes one step further beyond the directions to the tabernacle, and He starts talking about the priestly garments. Aaron and his sons were going to represent the people before God and God before the people, and they were going to be known as God's priest. But the priests who were going to work in this beautiful tabernacle couldn't just wear any clothes. They had to wear priestly garments. And in addition, if you read really closely in the material, you'll find that God also specifically told them how to make a fragrant perfume or cologne, whatever you want to call it, that the priests were to put on their clothing. Now, this is a very fascinating thought to me. It literally means that when God's people would approach the tabernacle and they would bring their sacrifices to the priest, they would smell the garments of the priest and know that they were approaching a holy God. God was so specific about this perfume that He said, when you make it and put it on the garments of the priest, you are not to replicate it and reproduce it for the common people of Israel. No one was to wear this perfume or cologne except the priest. That meant when you came to the temple, you not only saw the beauty of the temple and were reminded of God's holiness, but you smelled the fragrance of God as you approached to offer your sacrifice. As that priest walked up to you and you were handing your animal to that priest to make the sacrifice, you could begin to smell what was called the fragrance of God, and you knew you were in His presence. Now I want to fast forward from the Old Testament concept of that cologne that was put on the garments of the Aaronic priest, and I want to move to the New Testament. And did you know that if you're a follower of Jesus, you and I every day are to bring the fragrance of Christ to our world? It's very similar. As people interact with us, as they talk with us, as they live around us, they should not only see that Jesus lives in us, but they should smell the fragrance of Christ in our lives so that they know they're near the presence of God. That's amazing that God would give us that privilege. This is how it's phrased in the New Testament. Over to 2 Corinthians, I'm going to read verse 15 and part of verse 16 to remind you, you are the fragrance of Christ. Here's what it says, verse 15 in 2 Corinthians chapter 2. For to God we are the fragrance of Christ among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. To some we are an aroma of death leading to death, but to others an aroma of life leading to life. This is encouraging for us. When we're around other believers, it should be the same fragrance. We should smell the victory of Jesus Christ and His death, burial, and resurrection. But when we're around people who don't know Jesus, we are going to remind them we are the fragrance of death because they don't know Jesus. They're smelling their coming judgment and death unless they meet the same Jesus that we know. And so we're the fragrance of Christ everywhere we go. My hope is that this week you will live in such a way that people can smell the fragrance of Christ, and if they don't know Him, they'll be drawn to come and meet Him because He's their Savior just like He's your Savior. And we want them to believe in Jesus just like you've believed in Jesus. So this week, go smell like the fragrance of Christ and bring His aroma to the places that God will send you. I hope that'll encourage you, and we hope you come back and join us for the next CrossPoint devotion.